Hey guys, I hope you're all doing really well. I'm Allure Cosplay and today I show you my Instant and Sorcery Cormelia deck. Let's go. With this deck I challenged myself not to buy any cards and only to use the cards that I have in my possession. So if there's any better cards, just let me know in the comments below. Maybe I will splurge on them. The only card that I bought is the Commander. Let's start with the Commander. Cormelia Glamour Thief costs 4 to cast. She has haste and you can tap 1 mana and her and add a blue, a black, and a red. Spend this mana only to cast an instant or sorcery spell. When she dies, return up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. There are many reasons why I picked this commander for this specific deck. I really wanted to make an instant or sorcery deck with all the cards that I have in my possession. I have not bought any cards for this deck aside from the commander herself. She's pretty easy to cast because she's very cheap. She also has haste and she gives me mana and recursion from my graveyard. What else can I ask for? This deck contains 36 lands. To continue with the mana theme, let's do our mana rocks. I have Thought Vessel, Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Armillary Sphere, and Commander Sphere. And now let's move on to the Planeswalkers. We have Rao, Storm Conduit. He costs 4 to cast. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, Rao deals 1 damage to target opponent or Planeswalker. Uptick 2, you can scry 1. -2, when you cast the next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. And next we have Ashok, Sculptor of Fears. She costs 6 to cast. +2, draw a card. Each player puts the top 2 cards of their library into the graveyard. -5, put a target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. -11, gain control of all creatures target opponent controls. Now, why did I put that in here? First off, it was just laying around in my binder, so why not? Number 2, I needed more card draw, definitely. Number 3, this deck doesn't contain as many creatures to kind of defend me. It has mostly instant and sorceries, so I just wanted to steal some stuff from somebody else. Let's move on to the enchantments. We have 3. Jace's Sanctum, cost 4 to cast. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, scry 1. Storm of Saruman costs 6 to cast. It has ward 3. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, copy it, except the copy isn't legendary. You may choose new targets for the copy. And last but not least, Dual Casting costs 2 to cast. Enchantment Aura. Enchant a creature. Enchant a creature has, you can tap 1 red and copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. And now let's move on to the creatures. Opaline Unicorn costs 3 to cast. You can tap it and add 1 mana of any color. Ornithopter costs 2 to cast. It has flying, and again, you can tap it for 1 mana of any color. Mocking Sprite costs 3 to cast. It has flying. Instant sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Nivix Guildmage costs 2 to cast. You can tap 3, draw a card, and then discard a card. You can tap 4, copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. Murmuring Mystic costs 4 to cast. Whenever you cast the instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 Bluebird illusion creature token with flying. Windrider Wizard costs 3 to cast. It has flying. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery wizard spell, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. Bohar costs 2 to cast. You can tap him and draw a card and then discard a card. If you discarded an instant or sorcery card, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. You can pay 2 and sack him. You may cast target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard this turn. If that spell would be put into a graveyard, exile it instead. Activate only as a sorcery. Volshe Tide Turner costs 2 to cast. You can tap him and add a blue. Spend this mana only to cast the instant or sorcery spell or a kick spell. Melik Izzet Paragon costs 6 to cast. Play with the top card of your library revealed. You may cast the top card of your library if it's an instant or sorcery card. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your library, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. Jin Illuminatus costs 7 to cast. It has flying. Each instant or sorcery spell you play has Replicate. The Replicate cost is equal to its mana cost. Ghostlit Warder costs 2 to cast. You can tap 4 and him and counter target spell unless its controller pays 2. For 4, discard Ghostlit and counter target spell unless its controller pays 4. Mercurial Chemister costs 5 to cast. You can tap 1 blue and him and draw 2 cards. Tap 1 red, discard a card. This guy deals damage to target creature equal to the discarded card's converted mana cost. Fairy Mastermind costs 2 to cast. It has flash and flying. Whenever an opponent draws their second card each turn, you draw a card. Pay 4, each player draws a card. Solemn Simulacrum costs 4 to cast. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, put the card into the battlefield tapped, and shuffle. When it dies, you may draw a card. Niv Mizzet. It costs 6 to cast. This spell can be countered. It has flying. Whenever you draw a card, Niv Mizzet deals 1 damage to any target. Whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, you draw a card. I do have 2 other Niv Mizzets that are in the same color family. I was thinking about putting them in here. Let me know in the comments below if I should. I'm still not sure. Saruman the White Hand costs 4 to cast. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, amass Orc X, where X is the spell's mana value. Goblins and orcs you control have Ward 2. Rotha Mercurial Artist costs 3 to cast. You can pay 2 and return Rotha to its owner's hand. Copy target instant sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. And now let's check out the sorceries. Slave of Bolas costs 5 to cast. Gain control of target creature. Untap that creature. It gains haste until the end of turn. Sacrifice it at the end of turn. Capture of Jingzo costs 5 to cast. Take an extra turn after this one. Toxic Deluge costs 3 to cast. As an additional cost to cast Toxic Deluge, pay X life. All creatures get -X until the end of turn. Mire and Mystery cost 2 to cast. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or an enchantment. Karn's Temporal Sundering costs 6 to cast. Take an extra turn. Profane Command costs X and 2 black. Choose 2. Target player loses X life. Return target creature card with converted mana cost X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Target creature gets -X until the end of turn, and up to X target creatures gain fear until the end of turn. I really like sorceries that have options. Expressive Iteration costs 2 to cast. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand, put 1 of them into the bottom of your library, and exile 1 of them. You may pay the exile card this turn. Cruel Ultimatum costs 7 to cast. Target opponent sacrifices a creature, discards 3 cards, then loses 5 life. You return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand, draw 3 cards, then gain 5 life. If I copy this spell, it's mwah. Bribery costs 5 to cast. Search target opponent's library for a creature card, put the card into the battlefield under your control, then that player shuffles. Disrupt Decorum costs 4 to cast. Goad all creatures you don't control. Beacon Bolt costs 3 to cast. Beacon Bolt deals damage to a target creature equal to the total number of instant and sorcery cards you own in exile and in your graveyard. It also has Jumpstart. Blue Sun's Twilight costs X and 2 blue. Gain control of target creature with the mana value X or less. If X is 5 or more, create a token that's a copy of that creature. Walk the Eons costs 6 to cast. Take an extra turn. Time Spiral costs 6 to cast. Remove Time Spiral from the game. Each player shuffles his or her graveyard and hand into his or her library. Then draw 7 cards. You untap up to 6 lands. Epic Experiment costs X and 2. Exile the top X cards of your library. You may cast an instant or sorcery spell with the mana value X or less from among them without paying their mana cost. Then put all cards exiled this way that weren't cast into your graveyard. Experimental Overload costs 4 to cast. Create an XX blue and red weird creature token where X is the number of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard. Then you may return an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Exile Experimental Overload. And of course I had to have Brass's Bounty. It costs 7 to cast. For each land you control, create a treasure token. I also love to copy this spell. And now let's take a look at the instants. We start with Nexus of Faith. It costs 7 to cast. Take an extra turn after this one. If it would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, reveal Nexus of Faith and shuffle it into its owner's library instead. Wizard's Retort costs 3 to cast. This spell costs 1 less to cast if you control a wizard. Counter target spell. Elminster Simulacrum costs 6 to cast. For each opponent, you create a token that's a copy of up to one target creature that player controls. Debt to the Kami costs 3 to cast. Choose one. Target opponent exiles a creature they control. Target opponent exiles an enchantment they control. Again, I really like options. Saw It Coming costs 3 to cast. Counter target spell. Swan Song costs 1 to cast. Counter target enchantment, instant, or sorcery spell. Its controller puts a 2/2 bluebird creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Vraska's Fall costs 3 to cast. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or a planeswalker and gets a poison counter. Fire costs 2. Fire deals 2 damage divided as you choose among 1 or 2 targets. And Ice costs 2. Top target permanent. Draw a card. Teach by Example costs 2 to cast. When you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Core Dirge costs 3 to cast. All damage that would be dealt this turn to a target creature you control by a source of your choice is dealt to another target creature instead. Arcane Infusion costs 2 to cast. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal an instant or sorcery card from among them and put that card into your hand. Put the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. You can flashback it for 5. Saconic Rift costs 2 to cast. Return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand. You can overload it for 6 and basically wipe the board. Todd Collapse costs 3 to cast. Counter target spell. Its controller puts the top 3 cards of their library into their graveyard. Fact or Fiction costs 4 to cast. Reveal the top 5 cards of your library. An opponent separates those cards into 2 piles. Put one pile into your hand and the other into your graveyard. Well, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe for more random nerdy content from me. Don't forget to click the notification button so you know when I upload next. Bye!